Hey y'all, this is Quabila Jones, host of the Q Spot podcast. How's everybody doing tonight? We are live for the first ever live podcast edition. So I hope everyone is ready for a treat with my special guest, Mr. Damon Thomas, founder of Men of Courage. Let me first give you a little background information before we have Damon come on. Mr. Damon Thomas, founder and creative writer, has dedicated his life to discussing the need for awareness, education, and rendering resources for male survivors of abuse, sexual domestic violence, and etc. And issues that too often stem from abuse, drug addiction, trust issues, communication barriers. In addition, his critical work is tied into his upcoming program series in development called Men of Courage, which where abuse and trauma are further discussed through interviews and male survivors. And so let's go into a little more detail, Mr. Damon, about you and how this all got started. And then if you don't mind sharing some of your personal story, because we want people to have a connection to why you're doing this and why this work is so important.
Yes, I get asked that question all the time, and of course, the first thing is um, personal experiences.
Okay.
Men of Courage is basically dealing with trauma that young boys and men go through. Whether we're dealing with drug abuse, sexual molestation, domestic violence, and two of those components, the sexual molestation and the domestic violence, played a part in my life as a young child and also into adulthood being married. So that's where Men of Courage basically was birthed from my personal experiences.
Okay. And so some people would take that and just kind of hide and not want to share it with the world. What made you decide to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to use what happened to me or for me, if you want to look at it in that way, and empower other men who are dealing with similar issues.
Okay. Well, this is the thing. Once I sat down before Men of Courage came birth, I was just that individual that was tired of, feeling sorry for yourself. A
Okay.
lot of people like using the word broken. I'm going to continue using broken because that's what I was
Okay.
at that time. So I no longer wanted to feel sorry for myself. So I said, okay, I have to move forward from the sexual molestation for one, and then two, from the domestic violence within a marriage.
Yeah.
So those components, I had to, wake up and say, you know what, I got to do better. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be stronger. So that was the key for me and
Okay.
gave me the drive to say, you know what, I want to start this program. But there was a lot of things that had to take place before this program was even birthed on my part.
Okay. And what were some of those things that had to take place?
First, I had to get right.
Okay.
I had to get to a point to where I was at peace with the sexual molestation. I had to get to a place to where the domestic violence no longer played a part to where it bothered me anymore.
Okay.
Once I took care of those two components within due time, I then decided to do the work. I had to get educated in this field. I had to build a strong team with a background of therapy and mental health. And those two strong components made us realize that, you know what, this is what Men of Courage is going to be like. So it was a process of getting me fixed again through the sexual molestation, through the domestic violence, and forming a team, getting right. I never had therapy at all, but writing for me was therapeutic. I would say for this whole ordeal and my life, writing was therapeutic for me. So I get asked that question a lot of times. Have you ever had therapy? And I haven't. But I had to get educated in all of this that we do for Men of Courage, and my whole entire team, they're licensed.
But do you feel that you've been going through this program, well, building the program and interacting with other men, even though you didn't quote unquote get therapy for yourself, do you feel though you have in essence gotten therapy by going through these different steps and processes of building this program?
Oh, definitely. And this is still part of my therapy. So, with
Okay.
that being said, I didn't actually walk into an office. I actually got my therapy, learning this process and being educated and getting schooled on all of this and making sure I am certified in all these areas before I can even form this group called
Okay.
Men of Courage.
So would you share some of your educational background where you attended school?
Yes, I started school back in Pennsylvania back in '86, and
Okay.
I traveled the world with my family. So, didn't actually I left school and then I actually came back and returned in the state of Florida. The field that I am right now was not the plan for me in college. I went to school for nursing, but I knew one day that I would be helping someone in some capacity, and I just kind of shifted with the education and went into this component right here of mental health.
That's awesome. I want to say hello to everyone that is watching and joining. And I hope you share this message with all the men in your family. Oftentimes we've had this discussion over and over. There are a gazillion conferences and seminars for women. And oftentimes men are left out of the conversation or they're not provided the space to open up and share. And then society has painted the stigma, that men are supposed to be hard and not show emotion. And that's just not how it's supposed to be. Women like me who want a husband don't want to marry some hard and callous man with all of these issues that he's never dealt with because they're going to eventually pour out.
That's true, and I agree with you. I really do. And that's a major stigma of men. We're not supposed to cry. As a little boy, that's the way we're taught. Man up. You don't have to cry. Men not supposed to cry. You're a punk. You're a sissy. So all them names was thrown at kids. So that's the reason I feel as though by having this program birth and being around a team of therapists and my own team is this is what is embedded in these men. Even now have families or even single that you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to hurt. Why not? We're human. Men, we're human. We're going to cry. We're going to hurt. We're going to have issues. It's life.
So let's talk about why it's important to create these safe spaces. I have seen several videos you've already produced, and I've had a chance to interview you on several other occasions as well. But let's talk about the why. We talk about how men keep stuff bottled in, society says you can't do this, that, and whatever. Why is it so important, especially now in a time and space that we're in, to have these safe spaces for men?
And this is the thing. Is very important. Especially more now than ever than what's going on in the world. But prior to this, all the men that I ran into, I had to be very, very careful when I formed this program and encouraged with this team that we had to allow a safe haven for these men. We had to have an approach that they trusted us because at the end of the day, we know men don't want to talk about their issues. So I had to build, and the team had to build a relationship with these young men and trust. And 9 times out of 10, after the second phone call with these men, they've already gained our trust all over the world. And this is our approach, is our experience, is our education, and is basically to you have to listen. Because men, like I said, men don't want to talk about it. So after the second phone call, they're ready to start the program. And we have a 97% rate right now. 97% of the men, all the men that reach out to us, 97% of them, we help. So we have an awesome rate.
That is awesome. And so when you share your story, do you notice that the men are more willing to open up? It's okay. I have some issues too. I really need to get this off my chest.
Oh, of course, because the thing about it is, once they hear my story, is whoa. So you've been through this. You walked the walk.
Hmm.
So then you see that trust, and then you see that openness up with them. So that plays a major part. Exactly, most definitely, most
Okay.
definitely.
Now, in your encounters, and you've been doing this work for a while, and so I
Yes.
know it's probably hard to pin down the top, issue you've heard or seen, but maybe what are some of the top 3 to 5 issues that you hear from men that they are dealing with?
I would say one, finally dealing with their sexual molestation as a young boy.
Hmm.
Two, the depression.
Okay.
Three, I would say substance abuse, and four, the addiction to pornography
Okay.
and masturbation. That would be the top four that we had to deal with a lot.
Now, what you would do from your experience, do you think the addiction to porn and the sexual molestation go hand in hand, or do they contribute to each other in any way?
I I'm gonna put the disclaimer. I believe they go hand in hand. I would say that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
If I ask anything that's, we can't talk
Oh
about this.
no, you know me for years. You know I'm very transparent.
Okay. Now, with the sexual molestation, do you feel it's well? Do you feel like it's not talked about because, again, people think, oh, it doesn't happen to men or it doesn't happen to boys. Like we try to brush things under the rug. Like why? Why do we have such these attitudes?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of young men that we've seen, they don't want to talk about that piece right there, is because who's going to believe them, for one, and
Okay.
number two, is thrown in their face. Oh, you know, you enjoyed it. Why are you lying?
Mm.
So that's one of the main reasons why you have a lot of men that don't want to talk about it, and they're ashamed because it'll be like, oh, you were supposed to be the stronger one. How did you allow this to happen?
Okay.
You know?
And so now we see a lot of grown men who are suffering from this arrested development because they were abused in some shape, form, or fashion at a particular age, and that root has now grown and taken over their life. Now they function as an adult, but mentally and psychologically, that little boy is still there. And
It is. I'm
so
sorry.
talk about that aspect.
Okay, and that's a good point because when you mentioned that, the first thing came to my mind is I have a lot of wives that reach out to me
Okay.
that they've been married for a while or maybe married 3 years, 4 years, and they just finding out that their significant other has been dealing with sexual molestation,
Okay.
abuse, domestic violence from the past, and never shared it. So it's not talked about because it's all about being ashamed, and they're afraid to talk about it. It's like, who is going to listen to a grown man say that they've been molested, they've been in domestic violence situations? People look at you, but now in this era now, I see, of course, it's happening more so than ever now, and it's more believable than it's ever been now. It's more
Okay.
believable.
I think it's time to start peeling back these layers. We as grown-ups, partners, spouses, lovers, what friends, let's start having these conversations in the dating phase, in the courting phase. Some people are like, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to tell all my business. I don't want to, but then you get 3 and 5 years down the road, and then something pops up and this person is triggered. And you're like, where did that come from? So let's start having these discussions early on. So is it something that you talk about with the men that you counsel?
Oh, definitely. And this is the thing, and I challenge these men when we first get the phone call or the first email. This is the thing. You have to, first thing is, you have to acknowledge that you have a challenge. I want to say an issue. You have a challenge. So it's an opportunity to say, you know what, I want to do something about this.
Okay.
You have to first acknowledge it. Two, you have to move forward in seeking the right help, because everybody is not right for you. And you know me for years. I'm not the one to bash anyone, but my biggest thing is the clinical and the spiritual. Why can't we have both? You know, we have a lot of young men that's commit suicide right in the church. And I've had these conversations with these pastors, and they've reached out to me about my program, and I tell them, why can't we have both? We're
Okay.
not there to take over your ministry. We're there to help these young men. So while you hiding in the shadow, don't want nobody to come in until it's too late. They have already committed suicide. It's already done with. So we're here to help. Men Catch program, we're here to help. And like I said, we get a lot of phone calls from pastors, and we have done a lot of work with pastors.
Okay.
But those that are pulling is the ones that, oh no, spiritual, spiritual, spiritual. Okay, these men, evidently they're missing something, and they're missing the clinical piece as well. So
Mm.
let's work hand in hand. Your lane is the spiritual, our lane is the clinical. Let's make it happen together.
Okay. Awesome. And I hope that you continue to serve more men. I know that we are again in this space and time where you're limited. And I know last year we talked about you putting together a tour. You have a whole team put together for different cities and different states, and you were just ready to rock and roll. But then here comes this virus,
Yes, yes, yes. But it's all good. It's a purpose. It's all right. It's all right.
I want to say hello to Darlene Lyons, who says great information. Damon well said. Thank you for checking in. Shout out to Miss Phoebe Johnson, Derek Coleman, and Clark D'Angelo. Thank you all so much for checking in. All right, so moving on. Now that you recognize these issues, these men are starting to open up. Um, what are some of the common misconceptions you've heard in reference to men hurt and have issues too? What are some misconceptions? Like, why do people feel that men don't hurt? Like, I don't understand why we cannot grasp that concept.
Because this has been from the test of time. This the way they were taught. This the way they were reared. Men are supposed to be the strength, the provider. So why am I gonna marry, quote unquote, they would say a weak man who now and after a year, 2, 3 years down the road, you telling me now you've been sexually molested and you never dealt with it. So now what am I supposed to do as your spouse? So that's a one component where men don't want to come to their significant other. They will feel degraded, embarrassed, even with their sexual identity. A lot of wives call and say, look, I didn't know my significant other was battling a sexual identity or quote unquote sexual orientation. I had no idea. So how do we deal with this? So we get hit all kind of ways, but the thing, back to your question, is the fact that is that believable thing, and a lot of women, if the men do come to them, is a lot, they don't want to believe them. They think it's something else versus what they really trying to convey to you. And I tell my women, this listen to your men. Listen, just listen. Listen. Because you're a man. You see the pain in their eyes. You see him walking in from work or whatever. You see him in the kitchen. You should know your significant other, and you should often feel that pain that they're dealing. You know what I mean? You should often do that.
Do you feel that, again, based on your experience in conversations, that some relationships and marriages could be, I would say, fixed, but some of them may not even have began if people had the right conversations in the beginning?
Exactly. And just from experience, communication and trust is everything. Without those two, for me, there is nothing. There's no foundation. That's my personal experience. Um, Again, we need to listen to one another. We
Hmm.
need to respect one another and have that trust to where that significant other can come to you and say, you know what, I need to have a conversation with you. I'm hurting. Um, I've been battling this before I even met you and never talked to nobody. Just listen. And I'm not saying everyone's not built up for this. Some people can't stay. Some people say, you know what, I thought I can deal with this, I can't, and that's fine. But I tell these men, at least give your significant other the choice. Give them privy to say, you know what, I want to stay in this relationship after finding this out, or I don't. Give them an opportunity. But as far as club shutting down, hey, I've been there for over 10, 11, 12 years. I was that shutdown person too. I would say it. And it's not a good place to be in. It's really not.
Okay. I want to say good evening to Robert Harden Jr. Thank you for checking in. Okay, so now that the man is open up, the woman, she has a decision to make. Let me ask this question first. The man opens up, the woman shuts down. What do you see happening to the man? Does he retreat? Does he return back to those bad behaviors? Like, what happens?
It depends on each case is different. It depends on the individual. You may have that man that go to a significant other and basically open up about his situation, and he get that rejection from his spouse. It can go several ways. I have some that continue to try to let that significant other say, no, this is serious. You're not taking it serious. Or I have some that say, you know what? That's why I can't communicate with you regarding subject matters of this magnitude because you don't want to listen. You don't believe me. So back again, communication is everything. Listen to your significant other. Let each other talk.
Please, like I'm gonna speak for the ladies or to the ladies. Let your man talk. If you notice some behavior, and like you mentioned before, your man comes home, he's a little snippy, little, moody, like something is wrong somewhere. Or if you notice he's drinking more, he's hanging out more, his behavior overall has changed from day one when you met him to maybe 3 to 5 years in a relationship, and something has changed. Like, okay, it's time to pay attention to what's happening and not just brush it under the rug. Oh, he's just in a bad mood, or somebody got on his nerves at work. That may be the case, but there's some triggers in there. But again, going back to communication, when you first start dating and talking to someone, you got to kind of make a decision. Do I want to trust him with my stuff? How much do I want to let out? You know, because again, you don't want to get so far down the road and then you start unpacking all this stuff and it's like, whoa, you know, I can't handle your stuff and my stuff too.
Right.
Um,
That's true.
so ladies, talk to your men. Let them talk to you. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna get off my soapbox on that. But men, please open up. Please, you
Yes.
know, trust your lady in your life. Find someone you trust and open up. There's a gazillion therapists in the world. There's someone willing to listen somewhere.
Right.
So, once men have opened up, the spouses decide, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I don't know how I feel. Have you counseled couples? Um,
Yes, we have. We
okay.
have. We don't have a large percentage of spouses, but we have, and we are. Yes, and it goes rather well. It goes rather well because it's kind of like, okay, let's come together on this now.
Okay.
Yes, you may need this, but I'm here to support you and be here with you so I can continue to understand what you're going through. And that's the biggest thing when you're going through therapy, especially when it's a couple thing is um you have to get to a point to where you understand your mate. You know what I mean? So a lot of significant others, they go to counseling as well. Because that's just like you dealing with a alcoholic. And you want your marriage. Go on to counseling with him or her if it's flipped is very supportive because you get the brunt of what they're going through so you can somehow deal with it, and also within due time too how much more I can deal with this instead of when they get out of therapy, you haven't gotten any better, you got another drink last night. So it works well when it's a couple things from what we have seen. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once men are allowed to have the space and they decide they want to break free from the bondage of whatever they have been letting hold them down, what walk us through the process. That a tip. Well, I hate to say typical because every case is different. A typical. I'm just going to
um
use that word process you use to get the man, on the path to healing.
Okay, well, the first thing is, them reaching out via website. Once they reach out website, they send their story in. I go through them. I'm the first person to get their story, see what they're dealing with, substance abuse, whatever. And then what I do, I sit down with the team, we discuss it, and then at that point, I decipher when I'm gonna have a conversation with that young man. And I normally have 2 to 3 before I line them up with a therapist who I'm a lot of who with therapists they're gonna see based off their case. Once I decide that, I connect that young man and the therapist. And it doesn't have to be in your city. So I want to let you know now we do therapy all over the world. We're over in London as well as of
Okay.
last year. So Men of Courage program is global. Okay. So we get a submission from a young man in Dallas, Texas, dealing with sexual molestation, just finally dealing with it. I have about 2 conversations with him, do a case on him, to find out what's going on, the initial case, and then I sit down with the team and discuss it with them. Then at that point, once I decide with therapists, we get on the phone with that young man. We let them know what their availability is as far as schedule wise. Money is not an issue.
Okay.
I make sure all my men all over the world and young boys they receive counseling. We very seldom get in with insurance because it get funny. So if you have insurance, especially like the Medicaid or whatever, that's fine. You can use it. But if you have no insurance at all, whatever the case, it doesn't matter. You come through us. I make sure all your therapy is paid for. So once we get the assessment over the phone, we get on the line with the therapist. We get your schedule of how many days a week based on your case, when you can do the therapy, and that's what we do. So when we're in the office, we set the appointment up with them. They go ahead and start their therapy. Normally it's 2 times a week. And then we look at case by case and see if we need to move it to 3 times a week. But it goes very, rather fast from the email submission to the 2 conference calls that I do the assessment to talking to the therapist to lining up the therapy. And we go from there. And we
Okay.
follow our men when they're done. As far as we're concerned, they're never quote unquote done. We still
Okay.
follow them and families for at least the next 3 to 5 years to check on them, make sure everything is going okay.
That's awesome. So can you go ahead and give me that email address so I can have it scrolling across the screen?
Yes, yes. For the website is www.menofcourageshow.com. That's the website where you can submit your story to myself. It comes directly to me. Again, www.menofcourageshow.com.
Okay.
Okay. And the best contact number for us is 470 534.
Okay. Let me.
Okay.
Okay. 470.
534
Oh,
2200.
alrighty.
Okay.
All right. So the information is on the bottom of the screen. So go ahead and jot that down. And if you know any man, young or old, that's dealing with some issues, and they just want to talk to someone, please direct them to Damon Thomas and his team of therapists. Let me. Okay. Since I brought up old, let me ask you this: Do you what age group do you find it has the hardest time opening up? The under 20, well, under 30, or over 50?
Under 30. Under 30.
Really?
Yes, yes, under 30. The 18, 19-year-old young men, oh, they open up in a heartbeat.
Okay.
You get up there, I always say 28, 29. It's kind of, you got to be very careful. And like I said, that trust again and putting that, creating that safe haven over them. But yeah, the young men, 18, 19, open up. And of course, I mean, we start at age 6 years old. So the 6-year-old, they open up, they ready to talk about what's going on with them. Oh yeah.
And do you feel that getting these young men or babies early on can possibly prevent some of the issues you see in the older men?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we get called in elementary schools all the time, and the thing is, you want to get to these kids very, very early. The earlier, the better. You know, early the better.
Okay.
And like I said, we start at 6 years old up to 65. There's nothing we haven't seen. Trust me.
Wow.
And it's with this pandemic going on, is this mental health thing, depression is nothing to play with.
Wow. And I've seen several videos that you put together, promotions. So we want to direct people to, you have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page.
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead. The Facebook page is the Men of Courage Show. The
Okay.
Men of Courage Show is Facebook, and Instagram is Men of Courage Show. I have someone working on YouTube, making some changes, so you can check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook again is the Men of Courage Show, and Instagram is Men of Courage Show, and the website was mentioned earlier, the www.menofcourageshow.com. Check out some videos, check out the information about Men of Courage, and I encourage you, man. I guarantee you um, you will be happy with this program. It's a good program. We are here to help, but you have to do the work. We do not come to your house, knock on your door, and drag you out the door. We're paying for this, so we expect you to do the work.
That's right. And I would hope that if a man opens up, if he took the first step to open up and say, I'm dealing with XYZ issue, that he will be willing to take the next step and say, okay, what's the plan of action here for my healing process? We hear women talk about this healing, and we hear all women are always talking about doing the work. Not often do we hear men talking about it. And going back to going back to the very beginning of our conversation, it's like when men try to open up, they get shut down, from the first little for the first jump. So it's like, ladies, if we want whole, healthy men, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all that, we have to allow them the space to open up and
Exactly,
express themselves.
exactly. And like I said, the biggest thing is the shame, the fear, and the finances. And we help you through all three of those components. I'm sorry, the shame, the fear, and the financial. When I birthed this program many, 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 many years ago, I made a vow that I didn't want any male not wanting therapy or not wanting to talk to someone because of the finances.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. I want to say this all over the world. Men, give us a chance. Our record prove itself, and you don't have to worry about any finances. We want to change the trajectory of men, getting back to men of courage. That's what we need. Okay.
Right. So let's look, if you know a man in your life, send him Damon's way. Even if he doesn't have a real deep issue, you don't want a seed that's been planted at any part of his life to take deep root and to start sprouting up and then pop off at the wrong time. That's what you don't want to happen. So let's send
And
them.
we also want to hear good stories. We don't just deal with trauma and abuse and depression. I mean, we cover stories as well that men have that has gone through the program, not even with us, but had therapy time years ago, and they want to talk about where they come from the abuse, from the trauma. So we don't just cover. It's not all about negativity. It's about men of courage. Whatever milestone men that you want to discuss, we can discuss it.
Okay.
Everything is not bad. We've done a lot of good stuff in our lives. So let's talk about it. Let's do it. And it takes a village for this. And I want to take the time to people like yourself over the years who have always supported Men of Courage and myself. Phenomenal staff, clinicians, staff. This is not a one-man program. There's no way I can do this. I thank all the therapists across the globe who has really played an intricate part of this, and that has continued.
Shout out to all of you. And I am one that believes in everybody living their best life possible, but you can't live your best life if you're not whole. If there are parts of you that are broken, tattered, you can't live your life in authenticity because you're masking your pain, you're masking, those parts of you that you're trying to hide. And it's time for us to start taking off those masks and start healing those parts and start living wholly and authentically, in our life. Because eventually those pieces are going to fall apart at the wrong time. And, it will play out on our jobs, in our families, in our churches, wherever we are. And so that's what we don't want,
Right.
for us to fall apart at the wrong time. Anywho, I want to shout out to Robert who says great dialogue. Thank you. He works in the mental health field, and so I know he hears and sees a lot of these
Thank
stories
you.
as well. So I hope that he's taking on something where he can have a conversation with his colleagues and other
Thank you.
men in his life. So we want
Appreciate
the conversation to continue and not just stop at one conversation. All right, so even though, let's talk about the future of Unicode. Even though right now everything is kind of shut down, people are still traveling to some degree within the United States, but we know that large gatherings are shied upon. They're not, recommended. So, how
that.
are you going to continue to serve your clients during this?
Um, on this time. Thank you. Good question. And like I said early in the interview, we had a 15-city Men of Courage tour set up with 15 cities, showing awareness about the program, what we do with trauma. So we're set up. So we will continue when it's that time. Number one, but number two, we have never, ever, ever stopped therapy. We still do therapy behind the scenes. Right now, and of course, we have to do them virtual. So all our clients now that we've ever had, we're still going through therapy through Men of Courage. We set up, virtual like you and I doing now, and we still make it happen. We don't stop. At the end of the day, you can't come into the office, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't still get the care that you need, and that's important.
That's awesome. And so, do you feel that the men are responding well to still having the virtual help? It's like they know they're still getting some type of support.
Yes, from what we've seen, the therapy has increased, of course, because of what is going on. Because the strongest are shutting down right now. The strongest people, because of what's going on. But we've seen the increase, and I believe also is because of, although they were coming into the office, they know they can no longer come to the office. I believe that they feel a better closeness and is a different now instead of walking into the same old office. Hello, how you doing? Now it's like you and I. I'm relaxed. They get in the comfort of their home. They on their turf. They're not on our turf in our offices getting the help they need. Although the location may not be as important to others, but locations are. You want to feel, yes, you may trust that therapist, but you want to be at home too. And who don't want to be at home doing an interview like this or getting therapy in the comfort of their home? Everybody wants to. So we've seen the increase, yes, Steph.
Okay. All right. So I want to switch a little bit, and I want you to please share some of the success stories that you've encountered, so that people know the work that you're doing. Through your program.
Okay. Um, One of the stories I would say, getting a call from men who are experiencing the drug addiction, the pornography, um, after going through the process with us. And it's a process. The biggest thing for me is results. I like to see results. Um, Hopefully, we all want to see results. So at the end of the day, they come in, they submit a story dealing with pornography, drug addiction. You know, we're going to help them. We're going to help them. So
Okay.
once they get to this point to where the pornography is no longer an issue for them, the drugs is no longer, it doesn't even phase their life where they can get up and go to work. They don't have to be sitting at that laptop or on their phone. Oh my God, I forgot to go to work. I'm late for this. I'm late for that. I'm late for a meeting. I'm sitting here watching porn all day and popping Percocet or doing heroin.
Okay.
So once we get them to that point, and it's like you see the growth and they see the growth and they say, wow, I never imagined this would happen. Never imagined. You know what I mean? Sexual molestation. You have a father who submit and say, you know what? I finally told my significant other that I was sexually molested, and I didn't know which way I was going. If I like men, if I like women. But once I came to a place and started therapy, and someone listened and is professional, it's like, you know what? I knew I was this way a long time ago, but I needed verification from the clinical piece to kind
Okay.
of give me insight. Okay, so the success stories are awesome to us. Not only that, but these men who complete the program, and I don't want to make it sound like a graduation course because Lord, anybody who know men encourage this is not a graduation course. This is some serious stuff. Um, Once they get to a point to where they're good,
Hmm.
we take them out on the road with us to men encourage events, um, inspiring other young men, speaking, coming to speak for me and for the program. But they have to get to that place. Of course, we're not going to just throw you out there. You're not ready. You're not ready. And I have men, and we've seen it from the clinical side, from all the assessments. They're not ready. And that's okay. We're going to continue working with you. But the success stories are awesome. The families are happy. The wives are happy. The mothers are happy. Oh my God, he's a new person. So that's when we get our joy at the end of the day when we see the progress and the results. But the biggest thing with the pornography and the substance abuse, those things, those calls and those submissions is like is a killer for these young black men out here from what we've seen. Yeah.
Well, before I go on to my next question, can you kind of touch on maybe what are some of the like causes, I guess, if that's the right word? I'm not a clinician, so I'm sorry, I don't know. But what leads to an addiction to pornography?
And this is the thing. Every case is different. I
Okay.
mean, you may have some who've had a bad experience coming up as a child.
Okay.
Um, their father or their uncle may have introduced them to porn, and they continue watching porn until adolescent,
Okay.
as a young adult. Now you have a family. Now you have kids, and it never got out of your cycle. And the most important thing is when we take a look at these cases, especially when it comes to the addiction, you have to be careful as far as defining what is an addiction. You
Okay.
know, um, and the thing about it in the clinician world, the addiction, okay, for again with the porn and the drugs, when it start taking over your life to where you're missing work, you're taking your paycheck to buy these drugs. You can't get to basketball practice, or you can't get to a meeting because you're so busy on the laptop watching porn. Your wife is in the bed, and you still scrolling through Pornhub. When it start controlling your life, that is an addiction.
Okay. Have you ever had a conversation with the children in these families, and have they talked about how they feel their dad is either treating them, his behavior overall in the home, his attitude, mood? What has been some of the conversation with the children in some of these families?
Okay. Families, what we run into as far as, I mean, the young kids, what we fall to find out more is the fact that when we have the anger issues,
Hmm.
um, that stems from what we've seen is, let's say a parent has passed away. Let's say we're dealing with a 7-year old. Father passed away through, he got shot. That's that grief thing.
Okay.
Um, so they're dealing with that grief. They lost their daddy. But as far as the young little boys that we deal with who have anger issues, we see that in the home, the behavior in the home. The home is havoc. There's no structure in the home. Everybody's doing their own thing. Mom and dad doing this, dad doing this. There's no structure in the home. So what happens? The child acts out. Not in all cases, but in the cases that we've seen, they act out, and they start doing things that normal quote unquote kids shouldn't be doing. And that's a red flag that parents reach out and say, wait a minute, my child, he's off the chain. He's he's around here cussing. He's throwing things. What is going on? How did he get to this point? What is going on in the home? What has he seen? Whom have he been around? So I tell these parents, you have to look at all these scenarios. 9 times out of 10, once we get to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 year olds in the office, they talk about it. This is what's going on. This is why I'm acting out. This is why I'm have taken lighters and starting fires in the home. You know,
Wow.
yeah, it's
Now,
deep.
with some of the men that you counsel, um, do they talk about the behaviors of their children if they have children? And then once the men started going through counseling and they started changing their behaviors, do they ever talk about they notice a change in the kids' behavior
Oh,
as well?
definitely. Good question. Most definitely. Because it's like they'll once they're going through the therapy and they going through the process, and of course there's a time thing. Each week, every other week is going to be totally different, and you're going to feel the change in you. And they'll come tell us, you know what? Guess what? I see a change in my house already. When I walk through the door, my son is not afraid to see me walk through the door. He's acknowledging me. Hey, how was your day, Dad? What's going on? Let me tell you about my day. When you're used to a dad that's stressing all day long for whatever reason, things not going right inside the home, outside the home, he's gonna come home in a bad mood. He's gonna come home to a crazy behavior. So yeah, we've seen a lot of fathers who've gone through this program and have done very well, and there's been a change not only within them but within their home as well, and their relationship. Definitely.
So you kind of touched on my next question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Can men who have gone through, they finally admitted they have an issue, they've gone through the counseling services, or they're going through, can they live happy, healthy, fulfilling lives?
Yes, they can. Of
Yes,
course they can.
because the same applies to relationships.
Of course they can live a happy and healthy relationship, but if they're already going through trauma, whatever they're going through, and starting a program, you're not going to see the change overnight.
Okay.
But if they do the work from what we've seen through our program, of course we've seen a lot of men live a happy life right now, doing very well right now, very
Okay.
well, better than they've ever done in their whole life. So definitely, even their family says, you know what, he's a changed person. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. And I know I'm gonna get asked this question, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway. Yes, it's a men encourage program. It always have been, but I have 4 young ladies. Well, I have 2 young girls and 2 adult ladies that goes through our program. I'm the type of person. If I get a submission from a young lady, we have female therapists too all over the world. I have to look at the case and see if it's a fit for us. Although it's men encouraged, but I have 4 cases where I have 2 young girls and 2 adult females that go to our program. So I get that ask, well, why is this about men? I say, well, women have women. This is my program is men. We got to have something, but I'm there to help. But it is men encouraged. But I'll have 4 females that go to the program. Yes.
So, ladies, don't discriminate. So you don't have to feel bad about reaching out if you can't find any other program. Then we'll at least have a conversation to see where if his services fit your
Right.
needs.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And because you have such a connection with so many therapists across the world, I'm sure you can find somebody to meet their
Oh,
needs.
definitely. And that has always been my goal. I didn't expect for parents of 2 young girls and adults to reach out and say, "Oh, I know as a member, but I need this program. I've heard about it." So I'm not going to say no. That's just, I mean, my passion has always been here, so I'm not going to say no. Like I said, we have a 97% success rate. Those 3% are those that submit and say, okay, this is some serious stuff. Yeah, we're not here to play. So yeah.
All right. Miss Darlene Rose says, thank you for that information, Damon. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. So we're going to get ready to wrap up our conversation. So, Damon, any final, you know, pieces you would like to share, final words of encouragement? I know it sounds like we're in church, but words of encouragement. You have the floor.
Okay. Well, first, I want to thank you again for all the years of your support over the years. And I want to just tell these men that we are here. We are here to listen. We are here to help. We know that stigma has been there from the test of time, but we have to break the cycle somewhere. And this is what we do here at Men of Courage. So the being afraid, being ashamed, the finances, those three, please just throw it away. Contact us. We're here to help you. I guarantee you that you will see a difference if you go through this program. And there is no judgment here. I don't, myself, my staff, all over, we're not here to judge. We're here to help. Okay? I encourage you to reach out.
The information is rolling on the bottom of the screen. Go to the website, call the phone number, reach out, Facebook, Instagram. Reach out to me if you just forgot. I will guide you in the right direction so that you can get the help you need. Ladies, talk to your men. Let them talk to you. I'm going to say that again and again. Men, open up, please. You know, okay, before we go, answer me this. How will a woman know when a man has an issue he's dealing with or he's ready to start talking? Like, or he needs to talk. Are there signs to look for?
Well, and this is the thing. And I tell everybody, every situation, every case is different. I can't sit here and say, oh, if your husband walk home from work in a bad mood, oh, he's cheating or he got anger issues. No. Hey, he may be having a bad day. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is signs as far as if it's on a regular basis, the same old behavior, the anger issues, the shutting down, you got to have a conversation. And you please, ladies, don't do this. Please, please, please. Don't get up in your man face. Make him talk. Please, please, please. And I know what you're going to say. Well, how long do I have to wait? And I get it. You should know how long you should have to wait to have a conversation. You know when your breaking point is. I cannot tell you. My clinicians cannot tell you when is your breaking point because we can't. You have to know when is the breaking point for you to say, you know what? Something has to change. If it doesn't change, it's time to move on. I've given this situation a lot of time, a lot of love, and it's time to move on. But you should know some signs. You should know your significant other. And my thing is just be there for one another. This is not a one-sided program. Be there for one another. Open your hearts to listen. And like I said, at the end of the day, you have to know your breaking point.
Okay. All right. Any final words? You want to wrap it up here? Any final words?
Final words. Again, thank you for all the listeners. Thank you for watching this program. Please do the research on the program. If you have any further questions, please contact us. If you know of anyone, there's someone in every family, there's someone that you know, a friend of a friend, a cousin of a cousin that's going through something. Please share the information. It may not be going on in your household, but it's going on in someone's household that you know. And where do you get free comprehensive counseling all over the world at no cost?
Okay.
Really nowhere. So I encourage you. That's why I do the program. I didn't want any men to have to face or struggle. I don't have the money I need to help. We're here. Don't worry about the finances. We're here to help you. Make the first call. Acknowledge it. Let's get started.
Let's do it. Ladies, guide your men. Men, get the help that you need. I want to thank you, Damon, for being my guest for my first live um, podcast episode. So I hope this will not be our last conversation because I do want to hear from some of the men that you have helped who are willing to share their stories. I think that by people sharing their testimonies, it will help someone else. It will give another man that courage they need to step up and step out and get the help they need to start their healing process.
Thank you. We'll definitely do that. We'll definitely get our men on and we'll have some conversation. Not only conversation, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna get the therapy that they need.
Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your love and support. Follow the Q Spot podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now on YouTube. So your girl's trying to do some things out here.
All
So
right. You
I'm
got this.
connected. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Please share this information, and I will let you know when the next live video will be. Don't forget to join the Q crew so you don't miss a beat. And as always, pink sugar kisses. Mwah.
Take care. Talk to you later.